Hey everybody, this is Amanda with Allied Instructional Services. In this video, we're going to go through the process of trialing different ways to get to the settings and then the keyboard shortcuts to enable them so that you can use keyboard shortcuts to navigate within the Google Workspace environment. It's not a default setting that's turned on, so you have to turn it on for every account that your student is working on. An example would be if your student is using a Google account for their school email, but then also they have a separate Google account for their personal email, they would need to go through the same process and enable those keyboard commands on their private account as well. So it's a good way to start working on some of those concepts and the vocabulary skills for your student. I'm going to turn on my speech on for JAWS. Right now it's on speech on demand, and then I'm going to walk you through some of the different ways you can get to where you need to go. So this might be a little long of a video, but I just want to show you some ways that you can teach some of these navigation concepts to your student while working on this skill. I think as an instructor, it's important to teach your student a variety of ways to complete tasks so that he or she can determine on their own, what works best for them. So my first strategy is to find out where I am on the page. There are a couple of different ways to do that. One would be hitting Tab, Shift Tab to go. So tab moves you forward and shift tab takes you back to wherever your focus was, or just hitting tab will tell you where your focus is. A second option that I'll show you after that is going to the address bar with Alt D. So just to see where I am on the page, I'm going to hit tab. Oops, I forgot to turn my speech on.
Full speech.
All right, so we have full speech on. I'm going to hit tab to find out where my focus currently is.
Using Gmail with screen readers collapsed link.
So I have a using Gmail with screen readers collapse link. I need to get to my address bar so that I can go into my settings. So I'm going to press Alt D.
Alt D, toolbar, address and search.
This is the first thing that I teach my students about navigating a page. If you don't know where you are, you can always go back to your address bar and tab into the web page or the document to find out where you are, to know where you are, to orient yourself. So just like with orientation and mobility, we teach our students the general layout of environments. We need to teach our students the general layout of the web pages that they're on. So I'm going to tab forward into the content.
Basic HTML view button to act.
I'm using basic HTML because in my opinion, it's easier to navigate. From here, we have a variety of techniques that we can use to get into the settings. So at the top, we have this ribbon of options, these different menus that we could access. There's a menu for basic Gmail type stuff. There is a help button, there are settings, there's your app switcher, and then there's the account information. So we can tab around to find settings, and I'm just going to show you what that might look like. A lot of my students, even though they know different ways to get to that settings button, they would choose to tab just because it's easier for them than trying to think about how they can get there. So let's look at what that looks like.
Skip to content link.
So you could skip to content, which would take you to the actual emails.
Using Gmail with screen readers collapsed. Banner region. Main menu button expanded. To activate, press enter.
So you have your main menu.
Gmail same page link visited.
Gmail, that would just refresh basically the page that we're on.
Search regions. Advanced search support button.
The search
menu.
buttons.
Press space to activate.
The help button or support.
Settings button.
And then the settings. It tells you that it's a button. So if you're initially teaching your student to tab around the screen to figure out where they are, if you have their JAWS settings enabled with some feedback, it will tell you this particular settings thing is a button. So we can navigate there by using B for button or by pulling up a list of different form field options that they could use. So that just gives you some strategies. So anyway, you can hit tab. It ends up being like 9 times or something to get to settings. That's totally fine. I want to show you how much faster it is by pressing B for button and also show you how much faster it is using the forms field option. So I'm going to go back to the address bar.
Alt D, toolbar, address, basic HTML view button.
I'm tabbing into the main content. From here, I can press B for button.
Main menu, advanced search support button, settings button.
It's 4 buttons. 4 presses of the letter B for button to get to the settings, and then I would hit enter to activate. I can also pull up caps lock F5 for the list of form fields.
Select a form field dialog. List 1, list view, settings button, 7
So,
of 30.
I'm already on there right now because that's the focus, but if I was at the top I just logged into the page and I hit tab one time to hear basic HTML view button, then I could either arrow down or use first letter navigation. I know that I'm looking for settings, so I could press S, and on the screen it shows me that I would press S one time to get to search mail, press it a second time for search mail unavailable, third time for support button, and then fourth time for settings button. So either way, you're looking at approximately the same amount of time to get to your settings by pressing B or opening up the form field. So I'm going to hit escape to get out of this field, and I'm going to activate settings.
Escape. To activate, press enter. Settings button. Enter.
So unfortunately, keyboard commands are not in this first part of the drop-down box. We have to activate another button. So you can tab forward to select see all settings. I usually just tell my students to tab in this case.
Close. See all settings button. To activate, enter.
Okay.
General tab.
So I'm going to silence JAWS. It's going to read a lot of stuff. There are some strategies that you can use to navigate the internet. One of them is pressing tab until you find what you're looking for. It's good if what you're looking for is close to where you're currently focused. You might also use that if you just want to get a general idea for what's on the page. It's not a short way of finding out what's on the page, but it's definitely an option. Or you can use your quick keys, your navigation options, pressing H for setting, B for button, V for visited link, U for unvisited link, that sort of thing. Since we are not exactly sure right now what's on this page, that's probably not what we want to do. It's a great way for skimming through things. So you could do that for sure. And then another one is just pulling up your lists of forms field edit list, your forms field list, your heading list, and your links list. So I'm just going to go through the three of those to show you what's on this page. So let's just go. I'm going to go in the wrong order to kind of show you what's not available on this page. So I'm using caps lock F7 since I'm on a laptop. It would be insert F7 if I was on desktop mode. So that will pull up a list of links.
Links list dialog. Links list view.
Now I'm looking for keyboard commands, so I'm just going to press K to navigate by first letter navigation to see if keyboard commands is on here.
K.
It is not. I'm just going to arrow down to tell you how many lists are actually on this page.
Change language settings for other Google products. 13 of 41.
There are 41 links on this page, so if I was just going to arrow down looking for keyboards, I would go through 41 different options. It would take forever. So just by pressing K for keyboard, I know that it's not an efficient way to find the list, so I'm going to now try headings.
Escape to act heading list dialog. Headings list.
To pull up the headings, I'm pressing caps lock F6, or I would press insert F6 for desktop mode, and I'm just going to press K for keyboard just to see.
K.
It's not on there. I can arrow down to see how many headings there are.
Labels : 2. 2 of 4.
There are 4. So I might choose, if I didn't know that it's not on here, I might choose to arrow down to see if there's a heading that sounds like it's close to where I want to be.
Hangouts : settings :
No, there's not. I'm already in settings, so it wouldn't make any sense for me to activate settings again because I would just be refocusing where I am. Going to hit escape to get out of this.
Escape to activate tab page settings -vi.access.
At this point, I press caps lock F5. I would press insert F5 if I was using desktop mode to pull up a list of form fields. So this is going to pull up your buttons, different tabs that you might activate. Sometimes it will pull up, edit boxes and that sort of thing. So I really want keyboard commands. I'm going to press K for keyboard.
K. Keyboard shortcuts off radio button checked. 75 of 100.
Immediately it took me to the radio button where keyboard commands can be enabled. So keyboard shortcuts off radio button checked is what it says. I could activate that and then tab forward, or I could arrow down to see if the next radio button is also in this form field. So I'm going to do that.
Keyboard shortcuts on radio button not checked. 76 of 100.
By the way, there's more than 100 different form field options on this page. So anyway, keyboard shortcuts on radio button not checked is what I want. Hit that.
Enter. To activate tab page, press space bar. Keyboard shortcuts on radio button not checked. 1 of 1. Main region. Column 2, row 24.
So JAWS is very verbose in the current settings that I'm using, but I did say keyboard shortcuts radio button on not checked. Press space bar to activate.
Space. Keyboard
Boom.
shortcuts.
I'm activating. Now, here's another way that Google makes me not so happy. You change a setting and it does not automatically save. You have to get to the save button. So you have a couple different ways that we can get there. We know that usually these things are buttons, so we can pull up a list of the buttons again, or we might also do Control F to specifically find that word. So when we talk about the three main strategies for finding things on a web page, a lot of times we just talk about hitting tab, using your quick nav settings, and using your lists, but you can also do Control F to find things on the page. So let's just go ahead and pull up caps lock F5 to pull up a list of the element or the forms.
Select the form field.
Silencing it again because we don't need to hear that. And I'm going to press S for save.
S. Show in S. Shows S. Subject S. Size S. Save changes button.
Boom.
100.
It didn't take too long. There are a lot of S's on here, but it's definitely faster than tabbing around your screen or just pressing the arrow down in the select a form field box. So I'm going to hit enter to focus.
Enter. Navigation region. Column 1, row 33.
And once I've focused, I can press enter again to
Enter.
save the
Settings
changes.
vi.accessibility.test@gmail.com.
And I'm going to silence JAWS again. Congratulations. Through this entire process, it took 11 minutes almost, but you learned a variety of different ways that you can get into your settings, find what you're looking for, and then save those settings. And I hope this was helpful and you're able to use this in your practice.